This is The High Road with author and registered psychotherapist, Dr. Marlene Bizub. Dr. Marlene speaks to the heart of people who need to be lifted up and get out of the muck and mire that often accompanies major life changes, such as divorce or separation. Dr. Marlene will aspire to help parents of divorce to love their children more than they hate their ex, and to learn to take the high road. So please welcome the host of The High Road, Dr. Marlene.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. This is Dr. Marlene and George, and you're watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube.
This is The High Road with author and registered psychotherapist, Dr. Marlene Bizub. Dr. Marlene speaks to the heart of people who need to be lifted up and get out of the muck and mire that often accompanies major life changes, such as divorce or separation. Dr. Marlene will aspire to help parents of divorce to love their children more than they hate their ex, and to learn to take the high road. So please welcome the host of The High Road, Dr. Marlene.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. This is Dr. Marlene and George, and you're watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube channel. Welcome, George, and I have to warn you, my friend, I lost my voice a few days ago, and I just got it back, but I don't know how it's going to do.
I know there are a lot of people who wish I lost my voice, Dr. Marlene.
Yes, my husband was kind of sad when I got it back.
Well, we're glad to have you and great to be with you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's always good to have you join me in this endeavor. And I'm going to talk about something today. We are going to talk about something today for the parents out there going through this process in terms of things that they really don't want to do, things they want to avoid doing, mostly having to do with our kids. Well, my part is mostly having to do with our kids because that's my part of what we do. But I'm sure you've got some don'ts when it comes to your end of things in these cases. But I'm going to start us off with what I call, and I've talked about this a lot, I call it the golden rule of co parenting. And that is we don't communicate through the kids. We don't put the kids in the middle. We don't make the kids our messengers. And I'll leave it there and let you take it.
Well, I think it's very important. And when you put the kids in the middle like that, they really don't have the skills to deal with it. They don't have the skills to deal with being the emotional caretaker of their parents. And it's really not fair, I would imagine, to kids to put them in that situation. I don't have that much to do with that end of things, but I certainly do play a role in educating my client and educating my client on interacting with a mental health professional on the case. All those things are very important, I think critical to good representation um, and critical to having a good quality co-parenting relationship.
Yes, and this is where the team approach to cases like this, all our family law cases for that matter, comes into play, but especially the high conflict. If we don't work together as professionals, and I'm going to talk about that, something about that at the end of the show today. So if you're watching, you want to watch the last segment because we've got something to talk about there, but I'll leave people in suspense. But we must take a team and collaborative approach to these cases because like you said, you don't work with the kids, but you work with the parents. And if you're telling the parents the same thing I'm telling the parents, then the parents can't triangulate between professionals, play one against the other, things like that. And they will do that just to get someone to agree with them. Would you agree?
Yes, and the client or the parent seems to feel very justified in whatever they're doing or feeling. And so we have to be aware of navigating, I guess, the anger and the feelings of the parents, the frustration, the feeling of helplessness and fear. We have to deal with all those things, and we're really not trained to deal with those types of things. So we pick it up along the way as we go, I guess. And I really am frustrated by lawyers who attack mental health professionals based on things that are really irrelevant. And I know from experience that the judges get to know the mental health professionals in their district, in their area of practice. And so attacking a credentialed mental health professional personally is, I think it's counterproductive. I think the judge is not impressed by that. The judge is typically going to be familiar with the mental health professional. And with attacking someone, say, with your credentials and your experience is really a waste of time. If you want to impeach the mental health professional by virtue of their work product, I think that that's fine. I have done that, and I've done
Yeah.
that successfully. But I stay away from the personal attacks. I don't think they're productive. And
No.
when a lawyer comes into an area where they typically don't practice, they really usually don't know the mental health professionals who are very well reputed with the judge, and so
Mhm.
they really shoot themselves in the foot if they go and attack a mental health professional that is well known to the court, well respected by the court. Um, I think that that doesn't do their client any good. If you want to impeach the mental health professional by virtue of their work product, that's fine. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to
Mhm.
do
Mhm.
if it's appropriate. And those are things that when we go into a different jurisdiction from where we usually practice, it behooves us to be very careful and very measured in how we impeach a mental health professional.
Yes, and I'm laughing through all of this because this is exactly what we're going to talk about in the last segment. And so people will want to hold on and hear this because that's exactly what I want to share and have you and I discuss for the benefit of the audience. Because sometimes clients follow their attorneys blindly. And this might be one of your don'ts. I'm guessing this will be on your list of don'ts. That, as much as you want to develop trust with your client and have your client trust you and follow what you say, I'm also sure you'd be one of the first to say that if your attorney starts going down a bad path or it just doesn't feel right to you, that you might want to consult with someone else. Or I don't know, what do you do when that happens? And then we'll come back to that other topic at the end because your point is well taken and it's what I'm going to share later. But what do you recommend if a client feels their attorney is too combative, let's say?
Well, I've had people say to me, I don't know how to fire my attorney. I want to change lawyers and I don't know how to fire my attorney.
Yeah.
It's really it's pretty simple. Uh, Keep it civil. I appreciate your help, but I'm moving in a different direction, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then typically the new incoming attorney will take care of any transferring documentation, substitution of counsel, things like that that
Yes.
need to be filed with the court. And so it's really pretty easy. You can fire an attorney as easily as you can fire anybody else.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because people don't know that. I didn't know that
No,
before I started working in the courts.
no, and really, if it's not a good fit, you want to have kind of a good fit with your attorney. And that means a number of things. One, for me, is not turning your brain over to the lawyer and saying anything my lawyer says is fine with me. You
Right.
have an active role to play in that attorney-client relationship. And if the
Hmm.
attorney doesn't permit that or is stifling that, then perhaps it's time to move on.
Hmm. Hmm. And so you don't like it when clients say, just tell me what to do.
No, not at all. And I think it makes the representation very hard because the attorney is oriented toward aggression and combativeness and so forth. And
Hmm.
so you get that in the way of a collaborative type or a more collaborative type of approach to resolving the case or resolving conflict in the case.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. Well, and I think sometimes too that clients who don't understand, these parents don't understand that the attorney is there to give you counsel. That's why we call them counselor at law. They're there to give you options and, you know, give you like wisdom as far as which option they think might be best. But ultimately, as we've talked about before, the client, the parent, is the decision maker, if you will. And I think they should hear what you have to say, pros and cons of different approaches, but ultimately pick how they want to handle their case.
Well, I think that it's incumbent upon the attorney to inform the client, to educate the client
Yeah.
about choices that are available. And what I would say to a client would be, I know you need to trust me. You need to feel confident in what I'm telling you. And that's fine. And if you want me to fight for you, I can fight for you. But
Mhm.
I'm going to encourage you to look at and consider alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to litigation.
Mhm. Yes, yes. And as we talked about, I think just last week, those who want that bulldog attorney don't realize that's not well respected in the court.
Not only that, but I think it makes the resolution of a case much more difficult and
Yes.
much more combative. And it's really kind of unfortunate because I wonder how many times that is insecurity on the part of the attorney.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, it could well be. And so that I hadn't thought about that, but that's a really good point. That it could be they don't know how to best handle a case, so they just fight. The one thing they have learned is that they're there to fight.
Yes, absolutely. And really, the attorney and counselor at law role is one that I think can coordinate well with a mental health professional on the
Mhm.
case. I think working with the decision maker, parent coordinator is very important. I think the attorney
Mhm.
can facilitate that or obstruct it, as the case may be, unfortunately.
Right, right. Yeah, they can definitely either help or hurt. Well, the collaboration, not just the attorney and not just the mental health professional, but the collaboration can really help or hurt a case. And if
I
you've
think
got
that's
that,
Yeah,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that's very true. And when we work collaboratively with the mental health professional, we can put a lot of responsibility for that collaboration on the mental health professional and their assistance in the case.
Mhm.
And that's invaluable. And so we really need to have respect for our mental health professionals that work in the courts. And that means not attacking them personally, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, right. I would agree. And like I said, we will come back to that topic at the end for sure, because it's an important topic. But I also have a recent happening that I want to share. I want to get your take on it, and I want to share it with our audience because I know I certainly have, which you'll understand when we talk about it, some very specific feelings about it. But we'll talk about that later. Time goes by quickly. It's time for a quick break. So, this is Dr. Marlene and George, and you're watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube channel. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Marlene and George, and you're watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube channel. Well, so far, George, my voice is holding up pretty well. I can't talk, but so far my voice is holding up. So we're going to hope for the best here.
That's very good, because I don't know anybody who wants to hear a lawyer talk the whole time.
Well, I was going to say I am grateful that you have a lot of wisdom to impart to our audience. And so I appreciate as much as you care to share with people. I'm going to move to the next thing I have listed. And I don't think some parents are aware of this. And I'm going to be curious to hear your thought. But my experience, I want to make sure it's clear. This is my experience. But I've worked in the courts now 31, I think I'm going on 32 years. And my experience has been that in preparing, creating the parenting time plan, we don't separate siblings. We don't have different siblings on a different plan, more time with mom than dad, or vice versa. And I'm going to, before I turn it over to you, I'm going to say that I am impressed of the court system for being aware that this is bad, because it's kind of a mental health or a family expert concept that the sibling relationship is the most enduring relationship you'll have in your life. You'll have that relationship longer than any other relationship. And so the court has the wisdom, thank goodness, to preserve that relationship. But and it also causes a lot of things like sibling rivalry when we put kids on different schedules. But I'm going to let you comment, because you probably have a better idea than I do if that is something we ever do. Do we ever separate siblings?
I'm not mindful of any case where the court has separated siblings. I think they don't always articulate it, but I speculate that kids take comfort from each other, and
Yes.
in their relationship with each other, it gives them an opportunity to say, "Gee, did you know mom did this or dad did that?" Uh, and to talk about it between themselves. I think that's probably an important outlet for
Hmm.
a lot of kids, particularly when they get into the teenage years.
Hmm.
So it's a critical relationship, and to my experience, one that the court goes out of its way to preserve.
Yes, that has been my experience too. And like I said, it's been heartening to see that the court is aware that that's a thing, that it's a priority to keep siblings together. I just see a lot of problems that happen when one parent does in some way show favoritism to a child, and they can do that without having them on separate schedules. And so to set them up for that kind of thing by putting them on different schedules, that to me just doesn't make sense. And I'm glad that our courts don't do that. But a lot of people don't know that. And they'll say, well, you have this one while I have that one. And then we'll switch. And that way we can have one on one time. That never goes well, and it's not fair to the kids. That is their constant in all of this, having those siblings there. That's their constant. What do you think?
Well, I would imagine that it actually assists parents in taking the high road for them to recognize that the children take comfort from each other's presence.
Yes. Yeah. Like you said, it's a shared experience they're having, and they can process better with each other than if they're by themselves and they don't have anyone. Now, I jokingly say that although it's the most enduring relationship, it's not always the most endearing relationship. There often is a lot of sibling rivalry, but we grow up and we become adults and we end up leaning on each other. You know, you might have a sibling that you think growing up you can't stand. And as an adult, that becomes your best friend. And so, yes, to go through something as traumatic as the parents' separation and divorce, I think we just can't underestimate how important having that sibling there with you is.
Well, it's interesting, Dr. Marlene, that you bring that forward because I have talked to uh, a person who is 60 years old.
Mhm.
And he said that when he was growing up, his older brother tortured him and made him crazy. Uh, and yet today he says, I never would have imagined that he would turn out to be my best friend.
Yes, 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 that's what I'm talking about. Kids will be kids, but when you get to be adults, you know, you're going to need each other and want each other.
And I've seen adult siblings when if one of them is hospitalized or has an illness or something, they are pretty quick to respond to each other with the siblings that I'm thinking of, and they are uh, caring of each other.
Mhm.
And these are people who are well into adult age, and but they maintain a closeness, a caring relationship for each other. And these are not spring chickens. These are,
Right. Well, I have a sister right now that, you know, we went years living in different states, still live in different states, but we went years not communicating much, and we text every day now. Her husband passed away a few years ago, and, you know, we've just gotten older. Our kids have grown up and they're enjoying their own lives. And we text every day and just check in. So, again, you don't know when you're going to want or need that person in your adult life. And at least the court has the wisdom to not separate kids.
I think that's true. And I don't know how it works when there are a number of children. If there's a family with 3 or 4 children, that's a lot of coordination. And so
Yes.
coordinating with each other rather than fighting with each other has got to be a better road. It just has to be a better way to go. Especially with multiple children, you're going to have schools. You're going to have some that are in one school, some that are in another school, different things like that, different sports and activities that they're engaged in. And so uh, uh, parenting from the perspective of the high road of loving your children more than you hate your ex is critical, I think. And the more kids, I guess, the more critical it is.
Right? Right. No, it truly is. It truly is. Um, all right, I'm going to move on to the next. And this, I think, goes without saying, but you'd be surprised how much we see this. You're going to agree, George, I know. And that is sharing adult information with kids. Kids don't need to know when the court date is, what the judge said, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And they don't need to know all the dirt between you and the other parent. We understand you're upset right now, or they're upset right now, meaning the other parent. but we don't need to share adult things that kids don't need to know about their parents. And George, I've actually had a kid say to me one time that one of his parents had shared something that he didn't need to know and didn't want to know. And he even said, I wish I didn't know that. I wish my parent would not have shared that with me about the other parent. So I'll let you talk about that one too. Do you totally agree that we need to keep adult information out of these kids' ears?
Absolutely, and there are many choices to do that. Email, apps, um, texting, and as you have observed on many occasions, think before you press that send button because that text or that email is likely to end up in front of the judge.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so that's critical, and we really want to see people take the high road. And if they can't communicate directly, then use those tools that are available, like apps and email, text, things like that, because technology is wonderful when it works.
Right. 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 Don't we know? Yes, that is so true. And I don't know about you. I'm not going to commit you to this, but I will say for myself that if clients ask me to read an email first before they send it to the other parent or even their attorney or whoever, I don't know that I'll take a look if it goes to their attorney. I mean, I might say I'm not best the best one to tell you what to send to your attorney. But if it's to the other parent, certainly I will take a look before they send. I'm guessing you would offer that too.
Oh, absolutely, and it's really something that we're happy to do. I mean,
Hmm.
we are encouraged, hopefully, that the client is focused on the children's needs and setting up a parenting plan that's going to be healthy for all concerned. And that's really hard to do when the parents hate each other and are angry and scared and upset. It requires a certain amount of personal courage to take the high road. And I think we understand that and we respect that in a client.
Yes, yes. Well, and also I'm going to throw this in. I did not intend to talk about this at all. It wouldn't have even come to mind. But I think it's good fodder for this topic. At break, I had a client text me. I am the co parenting therapist, if you will, doing co parenting coaching and working with the whole family. Family systems therapist is what we call it now. And the mom was going to copy me on an email or message on an app to the dad. And she texted at break and said, my therapist, her individual therapist, suggested that she try one more time communicating just with dad before adding me. And I'm all for that. She said, is that okay? You don't take offense to that? No, I don't take offense to that. I think you would agree. We want these parents to work out whatever they can between themselves and not rely too heavily on us as professionals.
Well, I think there's no question that the buy-in by the parents, to the extent that they can control their lives or feel like they are in control of their lives, is critical. And
Hmm.
so, to the extent that they are at least heavily involved in construction of the parenting plan, and they both take part in that, they both agree on things like transportation and communication protocols and so forth,
Hmm.
you're going to get a much better result. You're going to get a healthier child that's not looking to escape from parental conflict.
Yes. Yes. And the minute you add your attorney or even a mental health professional who's neutral, such as myself, to that email or that message, that other parent is going to receive it differently when they see that anyone else is on that communication.
And that I really don't have much experience with because I'm not heavily involved in the communication between the parents. If they ask
True.
for my
Okay.
input or my advice, or they want me to review a communication, I'm happy to do that. But for the most part, um, I cannot control the behavior of my client toward the other parent. I try
Right.
to, and and I try to do so in a manner that's going to be healthful and productive, but I can't always control the behavior of that client. And sometimes that behavior is egregious, and I
Mhm,
wish that I could control it. As an example, just quickly, I mean, I had a
mhm,
case where the father kidnapped the two little girls in the case, and
mm.
I wish I had been able to control his behavior, but I couldn't. And
Yes.
so we try to guide our clients to the most healthful resolution,
Mhm.
uh, and it's much easier when they're on board with that. And I think that happens when they have an active role in constructing the parenting plan.
Yes, yes. I totally agree. Like you said earlier, there's more buy-in when they devise the plan, than when we do. Um, or at least they have input and they discuss it between themselves. I am going to throw in because I think this is correct, and I want to make sure our parents out there understand this, that if it's just your client and the other parent, and your client includes you on an email, but the other parent is represented, you can't really respond to the other party, can you?
No, no, not at all. And
Okay.
in fact, I would be ethically obligated to communicate with their attorney, and
Hmm.
that's what I would do. And I think most principled lawyers would. They would say, "Hey, my client is uh, receiving communication that's directed to me, and I don't want to be seen as talking to your client without your permission or consent." Um, so we back off of those things very, very quickly.
I'm glad I asked because that's what I thought. And I thought, I don't want to misinform anyone out there to think it's okay to add the other parent if they're represented to a communication that includes you.
No, and
Yeah.
I would immediately notify opposing counsel of that,
Yes.
and ask his or her cooperation in getting their client not to do that.
Yes. Yes, I'm sure. Or to getting your own client not to do it, right?
Right, right.
That is true too. Yeah,
No,
sometimes.
my clients are all perfect. They don't do anything wrong.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, that brings up another issue. Are attorneys who believe everything their client tells them. I'm like, are you kidding?
No, I don't think most of us do. We take things with a grain of salt. And we
Yes,
understand the anger and the intensity that's going on.
yes, yes. And I'm glad to hear that because you aren't always getting the full truth. All right, it's time to take another quick break. But this is Dr. Marlene and George, and you're watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube channel. We'll be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Marlene and George, and you're watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube channel. As promised earlier in the show, I am going to share something that actually happened to me this last week. And we were talking about, you had mentioned, George, that often attorneys will attack mental health professionals, try to discredit them in an attempt to impeach them. And what my thought is on this, especially in this particular case that this happened to me on, it's only going to damage the relationship between me or any mental health professional or any professional and the client. And so when we start attacking professionals, I mean, first of all, isn't that misguided? And I understand you don't like what they have to say, but when we start attacking them, I think it's misguided. I mean, I'm going to ask you that first, but also I don't think attorneys think about the damage that does to a relationship between a professional and the client if they're going to have an ongoing relationship, because I am in an ongoing relationship with this family.
Well, I think that for kids, they cannot be placed in the position of being their parents' emotional caretaker.
Right,
I think
right.
that is huge for me. And
Yes.
when when I try to educate a client about that and say, if you vent to your
Hmm.
child is going to be hurting over that. They love you and they love your spouse typically, or
Hmm.
your soon to be ex-spouse or your former spouse, as
Hmm.
the case may be. But the child is helpless with those feelings. They don't have the skills or the ability to say, Mom, I don't want to hear you badmouth Dad. Dad doesn't badmouth you. Something like
Right,
that. And that can be very helpful, but I don't think they develop those skills until they're pretty well into teenage years.
right, right. That is correct. And we don't want to put them in that position for sure. But going back to the attorney and how that isn't helping the professional's relationship with his client, is that effective in court anyway? I mean, I don't see that as being effective in court.
Um, it depends. They say the answer to every legal question is it depends.
Right,
And I
right.
think this is one of those questions. It depends. It depends on the maturity level of the client, how they present on the stand, how well they've been prepared as to how to
Hmm.
present themselves. All
Hmm.
those things are critical and part of the attorney-client relationship, part of being prepared to go to court. And attorneys that I have known and respected through the years, they're all capable of going to court and handling themselves well and professionally and
Hmm.
effectively. Um, but they do not typically get personally offensive to people on the
Right.
stand.
And that's my point is that tactic effective anyway? I mean, I know I personally didn't like it when he's putting stuff in pleadings about, and even used the word impeach, that he was going to try to impeach me as the family therapist and the parental responsibilities evaluator. He said the same about her. And so to me, that's not presenting well to the court. And I don't think it's effective if your your tactic is to attack the professionals. Would you?
Well,
Yeah.
one thing that's interesting is I have had clients who are fixated on getting what they want.
Hmm.
And the ability to get what you want is not necessarily reality in a divorce case. Uh, the if you what you want is reasonable, that's different. That's a different story.
Hmm. Hmm.
But if what you want is, I want everything my way, I don't want mom or dad to have any time with the children, they're going to ruin the children. Those types of attacks are not effective, and especially in a jurisdiction where the judges are familiar with the mental health professionals
Hmm.
that appear regularly before them. And so I think they are almost a little bit offended if the attempt to impeach the mental health professional is engaged in by personal attacks.
Yes,
I
they
just
know
think that,
what they're doing. Yes, they know what
and
they're doing.
that's not the most effective way to go. The most effective
No,
way to go, I think, is to impeach the work product, not
right,
the professional personally.
right. Like in a PRE evaluation or something.
Right. And
Yeah.
and that brings up an important point for me. I have had clients who are so fixated on what they want, they may disagree with the parental responsibility evaluation and say, I want a second opinion. And I tell them very, very clearly, that's fine. You can have that, but there's risk. And the risk is that they're going to agree with each
Right,
other,
right.
predominantly the two mental health professionals. And I said,
Yes.
and then I say, and then where do you go
Yes,
when
because
that?
they're assuming that the second opinion will be different.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And when it isn't, I say, I told you there's that risk. I said, now you have two mental health professionals who are lined up and pretty much in sync with each other as to their recommendations. And
Hmm.
now you're upset and you've had your second opinion evaluation, and it essentially bolsters the first evaluation.
Right,
How
right.
do you want to handle that now? And
Yeah,
so that risk is really profound, that people don't realize. I'll get a second opinion, and I'll get what I want. That's not necessarily the case. Uh, it
right,
may it may put you more into the corner than you planned on.
right, right, for sure. But what I'm hearing too, it sounds like when attorneys behave that way, and this will not surprise me. I mean, this makes sense knowing this client that I'm talking about. Attorneys often behave the way they do based on, and I don't know this attorney, so I don't know if he acts this way otherwise or not, but they often behave the way they do based on how set their client is on having things their way.
Well, and there's a reason for that. And that is that ethically, attorneys are obligated to seek the goals for the representation that the client delineates. And
Yes.
so we must do that professionally. We are obligated to do that. And so that's, I think, where that comes from predominantly. And then
Yes.
the saying that we are to represent our clients zealously within the
Right.
bounds of the law.
So
So
I shouldn't be so upset with the attorney. It's more his client who's probably saying, do something.
I would hope that's true.
Yes, I
I
would
would
hope
hope
so too.
that it's the client and not the attorney. Yeah.
Yes.
And when the client is upset, and I mean, which is all the time typically. Um,
Right.
but they really need to become educated as to the reality of court, that it's often a court of loss, that you're
Mhm.
not going to litigate your way to a healthy co-parenting relationship. These are things that the attorney can educate the client on. Now, if the client is closed-minded about everything, then we're not going to be that effective in trying to counsel them anyway.
Right, right. And this particular client is that way for sure. I want to go back to what you said because it was a point well made about the kids, and they aren't usually old enough or mature enough to be the parent's emotional caretaker. To that point, the last thing I had on my list is only give kids age appropriate information, only expect age appropriate behavior from them. I mean, they aren't equipped to be your confidant, you know?
No,
And
and and
so, yeah,
and keep them out of the role of messenger.
yes. Bottom line, that's going back to the golden rule. They are not your messenger.
Absolutely, and I think that is so unfair to a child, to put the child either intentionally or unintentionally in the role of emotional caretaker of the parent.
Right. They're kids, and we have enough trouble as adults managing our own emotions. The kids sure can't be expected to take care of yours. They're dealing with their own grief and feelings about their parents' divorce, which is usually very traumatic and difficult for them. And so to manage their own feelings and then manage yours too, that's just more than we can expect from kids, and we should never place that on them.
No, I think that's true, and to the extent that parents can communicate healthfully
Yes.
in their co-parenting relationship, the kids benefit from that. They have to benefit from that and feel more secure
Yes.
about their relationship with both of their parents.
Yes, and you are going to benefit too because you're going to have a better relationship with them if you can keep them out of the middle.
Right, right.
Yep, yep. Well, we're at the end of our time. It goes by so quickly, but thank you, George. This is Dr. Marlene and George, and you've been watching The High Road on the Dr. Marlene YouTube channel. We'll see you next week.
Tune in to The High Road with host Dr. Marlene and gain insight into how to rise above tough circumstances and learn the skills that will help you take the high road in your life, no matter what challenges might come your way, on the next episode of The High Road.